Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be across this beautiful blue-green globe of ours. Welcome to Real News Live. It is a Toxically Masculine Tuesday edition. I'm your host, Mike Bara, in Las Vegas, Nevada. Not smoking a cigar, but drinking a little soda pop, a little Dr. Pepper. Try to keep me awake long enough for us to get through this show. Joined, as I always am, by all the different members of the team. To my immediate stage left, my right, screen right, I don't know, Dr. Brooks Agnew, and somewhere in the Carolinas. Brooks, how you doing? How's the house going? When are you moving in?
Doing really well. Passed our final inspection today. We'll be moving in shortly, and I am drinking orange juice.
Orange juice. Yeah, you've probably been on a little bit of a health kick after that little incident you had a month or so.
Yeah, minor bump in the road.
Okay, and then right beneath him, but not beneath him, but, you know, in one of the Hollywood squares here, is Steve Doran, the trail boss, tonight, not in nowhere Fuckville, Arkansas, but somewhere in Texas. Correct, Steve? You're in Texas, and you're heading somewhere.
I'm in Texas, and I'm in Texas, and I'm heading back home.
Heading back home. All right. Well, Texas and Arkansas are next to each other, and of course, the fourth member of the team, not the fourth member of the team, but Snake Plissken, the future. By the way, Escape from New York is about to become a reality, as we will see when we get to the issues. The amazing Cub reporter of the show, TV's Blake Wally, the owner of the most elegant and clean strip club in Las Vegas, Nevada, Nashville, Tennessee, the Lickety Split. TV's Blake Wally. Blake, what are you drinking tonight, and what would it look like if we used a black light in that club?
No comment on that. It's probably okay here in the karaoke lounge, but that's as far as it goes. This is a massive complex, as you know, and the strip club is on the other side.
Yes,
but,
yes.
I do my best to.
Having spent many hours there myself at the world famous.
So I'm personally curious that if Blake is buying that sex club in California.
Oh, that's right. Isn't that where they have the labyrinth?
Yes.
I don't know the story. I don't know what's going on here.
I think I do remember that from some of our internal messages. Yeah, it's quite a buying opportunity, but I think I'm going to stay out of California. But perhaps I will steal that idea, and I will have a sexual labyrinth in the basement one of these days. It's coming soon.
I don't know what I don't even want to know what this is all about. But thank you guys. Thank you guys for being here. Lee Harris has the right idea with a $5 super chat. We appreciate those. Keeps the show going. Keeps the bills paid. Romo Rants super chats are always appreciated. Looks like we have a little bit of an audience. So well, great to be here with you guys. All right. So there are a whole bunch of things going on today. There was a plane crash. There are elections going on in blue states. There's the death of Darth Vader that we need to talk about. But of course, the most important issue that anybody can talk about, the most important issue of the week, is, of course, Sydney Sweeney's milk bags. Let's start with those right away. Here's Megyn Kelly, a B cup, by the way, complaining about Sydney Sweeney.
She decided to show off her number one asset, which, contrary to the American Eagle jeans ad, is not really her jeans. It's her enormous breasts, which are spectacular. No one would take that away from her.
Correct.
But controversial opinion, Allie. I object to this. I disapprove of the dress she wore because it's completely see-through. You can see her entire nipples.
What's the problem?
She reminded me of Kim Kardashian, who overshares.
And Sydney over the shoulder.
Sydney to your right.
And that gorgeous bar right there. And Sydney, look as you walk this way. And as you walk, Sydney and...
There they are.
Sydney,
there they are. The words are flung in saying, there they are.
Sydney, over your shoulders. Over the shoulder, Sydney.
Yeah. All right.
Sydney, over the shoulder. Right. Hey, Jamie, just turn your body. Over the shoulder.
right. Well, that's just a little taste. Maybe I shouldn't have used that phrase. A little taste of the coverage of Sydney Sweeney's breasts this week, and I bring this up not because it's a news issue, but because we're men, and this is Toxically Masculine Tuesday. I kind of agree with Heather here. I think it's Heather. They're boobs. Like, men love boobs. Megyn Kelly. Why is Megyn Kelly, who has that plastic New York B cup model look, why is she complaining about curvy Midwest all-American girl Sydney Sweeney showing off her assets? I mean, Sydney Sweeney's not a bad actress. She's not great, but she's not bad. Never been in a hit movie. Culturally, Blake, we'll start with you since, you make your living off of boobs. And by the way, we're just kidding about the whole strip club thing, Blake, so you guys know it's a joke. But what do you think is the problem here? I mean, there has been some feminazi pushback on this. I never had Megyn Kelly pegged for a feminazi, but she kind of went off the deep end. She did go on later on, and it's like, all I see is envy. It reminds me of Anna de Armas looking at Sydney Sweeney's boobs. If you've ever seen those videos, they're hilarious. Isn't Sydney Sweeney? Isn't the reason we love her because they're big and they're natural, and she looks like the classic all-American beauty, right? What's wrong with that?
Yeah, absolutely. And she nailed the American Eagle ad. And, I agree with you. It's absolute envy on her part. And I think she looks, I think it's fairly tasteful. It's not like Kanye's girlfriend where she literally just showed up naked, just wearing a, mesh or whatever. I don't think it was that over the top. But we all noticed, but it's kind of artistic in a way, I think. And so I don't see the reason for all the controversy they generated from that. So no, we all liked it.
You know what it actually looks like? It looks like a silver suit from that an alien would have worn on Lost in Space or Time Tunnel back in the 60s. Steve, I know you're a connoisseur of boobs. Do you have any opinion on Sydney Sweeney or her breasts? And I do understand she is a Republican. We don't know for sure. But, any comments on this controversy?
Well, I guess my thing is I do like women that are more elegant. I mean, I think Sydney Sweeney is absolutely gorgeous. I prefer seeing her over a big fat black guy in a halter top. But the fact remains is I like women that are a little bit more conservative, and
Demure.
I like elegance. I just like elegance. I like women who look elegant versus, overly sexual.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because Megyn Kelly, you could argue, is somewhat elegant, but to me, she has that plastic New York look that,
Well, the problem I got with Megyn Kelly, making comments is, let's face reality, she's been under the knife more than her fair share of times to make herself look good. So, it's like the pot calling the kettle black, but
and
as
Sydney,
I said, I think
Sydney has not been under the knife, and I'm going to argue this is one of the reasons why Sydney is kind of a phenomenon, is because she's natural, she's real, and all of her.
Oh no, she's drop dead gorgeous. I mean, you're not going to get any argument out of me over that.
Okay, Brooks, do you have any thoughts on Sydney Sweeney's breasts before we move on to more pressing issues? Although I'd like to be pressed by Sydney Sweeney's breasts, but go ahead, Rick.
We love natural talent, and natural talent like this is so rare. You really have to appreciate it, and you really have to appreciate Sydney's confidence with her talent. She's not looking down at her own breast; she's looking you straight in the eyes.
Yeah,
and I think she's kind of laughing at herself because everybody's looking at her breast first and then up at her. And I've seen these dresses before at different events. They look fine until the bright lights go on them. Then they kind of go transparent and you can see, more features of the breast. Is it offensive? Not to me.
Well, to be fair, if you remember the show that came out of England, remember UFO Hunters or something like that back in the 60s? And the submarine women wore the fishnet. The men did too, but all of the characters wore the fishnet shirts.
Yeah, it was called UFO.
Underneath.
UFO was a great show. Yeah, Gabrielle Drake. Yeah. Anyway, but yes, go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm just saying that back in those days, I mean, they were wearing fishnet shirts with nothing on underneath.
Yeah. Yeah. Although they did have a little obscuring thing. Well, I just think also culturally here, it's kind of amusing. Because it's like feminists do not want you to like desirable white females. They just really don't. And this is pretty funny because there's these great videos. Sydney Sweeney and Ana de Armas, who is a beautiful girl on her own, did movies together. Did a movie together, and when they were on their promo tour, Ana de Armas could not take her eyes off of Sydney Sweeney's boobs. You got to just watch this. This is good stuff. Let's take a look at a few of these videos. Here's Anna. Here's Anna during.
True, like the family power prevailed through all of it. She lived and died on the island and opened up a hotel, and it's the most crazy story, but it's true. Like the family power prevailed through all of it. She lived and died on the island and opened up a hotel, and it's the most crazy.
And then there's this cut, which is even better. She looks at Sydney Sweeney's boobs, and then she looks down at her own boobs. The inferiority complex there is off the scale. So I just think it's like, wow, they're like the eighth wonder of the world at this point. Let's move on. There was something else I wanted to talk to you about, Brooks. There was a plane crash today in Louisville. 3 people died, and probably the 3 crew members of this UPS plane that was a cargo plane. That was taking off from Louisville Airport. There is one video of it. Let's take a quick look at it. Then I want to talk about it real briefly before we move on to stuff that's not quite so technical. So here is the UPS plane. I'm not sure what kind of plane it was. It's converted.
Bro, get the fuck away from here. Like, turn around. Bro, no, hold on. I think it's gonna crash, bro. Holy shit. Holy shit.
Okay, so the reason this is kind of a political issue is Democrats are already saying that this is because Donald Trump shut the government down, which of course he didn't. The Democrats have now voted 14 times to keep the government shut down. But Brooks, it looks to me like the left engine's on fire before they ever get going. They didn't get enough thrust to get off the ground, and probably just crashed into something on the ground when they didn't clear the runway. So is this any way, shape, or form like because of air traffic controllers or government shutdowns?
No, not really. What happens? These jets, especially the UPS jets, they take off like every 90 seconds in the morning. They start at like 6 o'clock in the morning. I don't think they can take off earlier than that because of noise issues. But they take off at full power and then do a very steep angle out to protect the city against the noise. And that looks like a DC-1030. A DC-1030 is a big freighter. It carries a lot of weight, about 45,000 pounds.
Yeah, there's somebody saying an MD-11, but I'm not positive. But anyway,
I don't think it's an MD-11. They haven't flown those in a long time.
Yeah.
It looks like a DC-1030 to me based on the shape of the wing. But one engine goes out, you're not getting off the ground with no 45,000 pounds of freight.
Yeah. Okay, so hang on, sorry.
I don't know who owned that engine, but whoever owned that engine's definitely going to get sued.
Yeah, well, I mean, these things happen. Also, thank you, Deb, for the $5 super chat. Again, more super chats coming. And the more super chats we get, the more boobs we will talk about. Okay, there is our elections going on in blue states like Virginia and New Jersey today and New York. The stakes are relatively high because a communist Muslim psychopath named Mahmoudi or something is running for mayor of New York City. But already in Virginia and in some of the other states, there's already, guess what, guys? Problems with the voting machines. Guess what? There's problems with the voting machines.
No, say it isn't so.
Aren't we stunned? Voters in Chester County, PA had this happen.
One particular problem here in Chester County. Anyone who's a registered independent or third-party voter in the county and showed up to the polls this morning was told their name is not on the voter rolls. It is a county-wide issue and one that, as of 12:15 this afternoon, when I'm filming this, has not been resolved yet. Chester County Voter Services tells Action News it's delivering supplemental poll books to all 230 precincts as quickly as possible. In the meantime, independent and third-party voters are able to cast provisional ballots, but we're told that there was a lot of confusion early this morning and instructions were varying precinct by precinct, and a lot of voters just ended up walking away. Chester County Voter Services says it is going to conduct a formal review to figure out how this happened and how to prevent it from happening again, but that does not seem to be easing the frustration and mistrust that a lot of voters are feeling today.
This has happened. Also, there were voting machine problems in the other states. If you go back and you look at the results so far, we have an attorney general elected in Virginia who openly fantasized about murdering Republicans, and you have this Jay Jones guy, and then this is the new governor of Georgia, or not Georgia, Virginia, who supposedly defeated the incumbent Republican governor, who was quite popular there and quite successful. And of course, Democrats are going to try to spin this as being an anti-Trump vote, and the world has turned its back on MAGA, blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. The reality is, in every single one of these blue states, these are all blue states, that had Republican-leaning governors or candidates like Ceccarelli, who's still trying to trying to win the governorship of New Jersey. There have been voting machine problems, and once again, like there's problems in Pennsylvania, Steve Doran, the problems are only in Republican-oriented counties. What do you think's going on, and will anybody finally pay a price for it?
Well, we know that the Democrats steal elections, and the only way that they can win is through theft, and that's exactly what they're doing. They're using the voting machines against the candidates that should be winning. I mean, it's nothing new. It's been going on for years. I mean, it started back in the Kennedy era, where they cheated in Chicago to get Kennedy elected.
Yeah. Blake, any thoughts on your part about these results, and are you suspicious of them immediately? Because Democrats seem to be winning pretty big. Now, Virginia, just to be fair, Virginia is a state with a lot of government employees, and there's a lot of unemployed government employees right now, and there's going to be even more because of Doge cuts. But doesn't this seem a little interesting that once again we're having voting problems only in Republican-controlled areas of the state?
Yeah, they're going to keep doing that as long as they can capitalize on it. So, yeah, there's no incentive for them to remove those machines yet until there's some pressure. It's sad that we still have to keep having this conversation after every election and when they're going to get rid of these things. Clearly, they don't work. I mean, they do technically work for the establishment so that they can control these things and get rid of all the people they don't want. So we saw them pull out all the stops in Arizona, and I guess there's no surprise here. And it's going to be very suspicious, especially if somebody like that Jay Jones guy in Virginia wins. They definitely need to hold a recount. He does not belong there. He should have manned up and backed out of the race or dropped out. So it's not good. We have some really bad candidates.
We'll get to the New York mayor's race in a little bit. Yeah. Brooks, do you have any faith that any of this voter fraud is ever, it's probably easy to catch, is it ever going to be prosecuted?
No, I don't think so, because when you look nationwide, especially in blue states, There are no Republicans working in the election system itself. The election system itself is all run by Democrats, top to bottom. What should really, people just step back a little bit and realize that the Democrat Party has an approval rating of about 26%. 26%. So it doesn't make any sense that they would be able to win and manipulate elections like this. That New Jersey governor race for Winsome and Spanberger.
Yeah.
The NAACP comes out and endorses the white woman.
Yeah.
It's just corrupt. From top to bottom, it's corrupt.
Yeah.
Trump comes out and endorses all the Republican candidates and didn't really endorse Cuomo, but he came out against Mandami.
Yeah.
And Cuomo was man enough to say Trump did not support me. He's against Mandani.
Yep. Well, fair enough. We don't know what's going to happen in New York yet. The polls just closed before we went on the air, so we really don't know what's going to happen there. There's, I guess, a possibility for an upset. Some people think a large turnout means good news for Andrew Cuomo. There's a large turnout. We'll
Even
see
if Mandani wins, he's going to lose because he's committed so much campaign finance fraud that they're gonna rip him limb from limb. He'll never be able to govern.
This guy's an overt communist. He's an overt Muslim communist. He's talked about taxing white people more. He wants to arrest Netanyahu, which, okay, fine, but that the UN is, you're not supposed to do things like that. If we're going to arrest somebody, we should have arrested Castro when he came. And yet, we just don't see any. We don't. To me, all this is going to do is show the rest of the country, ultimately, how insane Democrats are. And I'm hoping it will eventually get the news across to them that you can't vote for any Democrat for anything, right down to dog catcher, or you're going to get pure insanity. You're going to get Peanut the squirrel being murdered by the government in your state or city. All right, a few other things happened today. Satan is dead. Satan is now officially dead today. We just found out when I got up this morning to the beautiful news that Dick Cheney, Satan, is dead. And his new roommate, John McCain, sent him a message and said, "Don't worry, Dick, it's a dry heat." So Dick Cheney's dead. In fact, we actually have, believe it or not, an actual photograph of Dick Cheney being shown around his new home, his new place to live. It looks like he's got a warm welcome there down in hell. And so good luck to you, Dick, on that one. And I had heard somebody ask me the question, well, why does everybody hate Dick Cheney so much? He was a Republican. He worked for Ford. He worked for Bush. He was the vice president. I guess I can understand why Democrats don't like him. But I'll tell you why Republicans can't stand the fucking son of a bitch. And here's a good example.
In our nation's 246-year history, there has never been an individual who is a greater threat to our republic than Donald Trump. He tried to steal the last election using lies and violence to keep himself in power after the voters had rejected him. He is a coward. A real man wouldn't lie to his supporters. He lost his election, and he lost big. I know it, he knows it, and deep down, I think most Republicans know it. In our nation's
So everything Dick Cheney just said there is an absolute lie. All you have to do is look in those eyes. You can see what an evil piece of shit he is. And Dick Cheney is, to me, the epitome, the representative, Blake, of the uniparty system. He is neither a Republican nor is he a Democrat. He is for himself and the elites, and his daughter Liz is even more disgusting than he is. And I hope they have a cell together in hell. I was hoping they'd have a cell together in Quantico by now, or Gitmo, but it hasn't happened. Any comments on the death of again, just look at that video, look at that face. You can see the pure evil on his face. What do you think?
Yeah, well, ding dong, the dick is dead. Yeah, it's a long time coming, and I'm sorry he died like this. I was hoping that he would have been arrested a long time ago, maybe tried for treason, gone out the way he should have, or found in his cell waiting for trial. Yeah, he's no way he should have been a free man all of those years. At the end, he is a monster. He was one of the worst representations of the Republican Party. During those years, he's an arch villain, neocon. He was probably running the Bush administration. He's a villain. He's a war criminal, and he should not be celebrated. So I guess Darth Cheney's dead. We still have Emperor Palpatine, George Soros, but that's still like pretty huge. So we'll take it. So another one down, I suppose. Maybe the Earth is healing just a little bit more today. So
another one bites the dust. Our Earth is healing. Steve, did you ever have you testified before Congress? Did you ever have any run-ins with Cheney when he was a congressman or a vice president or a cabinet secretary?
No, he was sitting vice president when I was testifying before Congress. But all I remember about Cheney was all the corrupt situations he was involved in. Moving American companies into Dubai, getting paid off to do so. And I mean, the guy, his whole career has been nothing but corruption. And like you said, you can't even call him a rhino. I mean, he was just pure evil. Everything he did was to better his bank account.
Yeah, and it's fascinating because I have a friend, the mechanic, who I would still like you to meet and hang out with sometime when we're all well off and doing better. And he worked for Herbert Walker Bush and told me he thought he was a patriot. And I'm like, well, I don't know about that. But I've never really asked him about Cheney. And he's never mentioned a good thing about Dick Cheney. So, I don't know. It's like, it pisses me off, like Blake said, Brooks. It pisses me off that these people are dying peacefully of natural causes. And don't give me this body doubles crap. He was executed in Gitmo in 2018. Looks like the same Dick Cheney to me. But what do you think?
I started to lose faith in him way back when the MK Ultra stories started coming out. Women who were in published books saying that Dick Cheney had abused them as youth. And that's when I really started to see the real Dick Cheney. He is very talented. He has a voice that's just like a demon. He can draw you in with it. But Steve's exactly right. If it was good for Halliburton, it was good for Dick Cheney.
Yep. Let's ask the question before we get out of the Dick Cheney thing, which, by the way, fuck you, Dick, rotten hell.
Mike, you're such a wallflower. You need to say it like you mean it and not hold back.
I don't put it out there enough, Steve. You're right. The whole neocon movement, people like Bill Kristol and George Will and Mona Sharon, I feel like those people should be going to prison too. Because remember, at the end of World War II, we tried and in many cases executed the propagandists that had helped the Nazi regime commit all the atrocities that they committed. Mm-hmm. Is it too much to ask, Blake, Brooks, Steve, is it too much to ask that the same thing happened to the deep state propagandists that have been selling lies to the American people for 50 years now?
Well, I don't think they should have any investigations. I'm sick and tired of Congress having investigations and grandstanding this and grandstanding that in one committee and another committee. Nothing ever fucking happens. Mm-hmm. Just make the arrests and start having the trials.
Yep. Blake, any thoughts on should not only Liz Cheney and January 6th committee all go to prison, but shouldn't the rest of these people be facing criminal charges for lying to the American people about the truth? Because let's face it, we can show a million different things they've lied about, including in that Cheney video, brief as it was, he told 3 lies in that. So I don't know. Shouldn't that be a penalty again, like it was after World War II?
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to be optimistic that they're going to go after Brennan or James Comey. So it looks like they could be working themselves in, and so Dick Cheney's just not a big priority, and he's older, so now he's gone. But hopefully, some of these other people that are living that were similar to him will be face justice. Victoria Nuland, and yeah, the Bill Cristols, all those neocons from the project from the New American Century that wanted to get us into all this regime change in the Middle East. Yeah, they deserve to be scrutinized and shamed, and yeah, perhaps face justice.
Yeah, I mean, those people, they were the intellectual white paper backing for the invasion of Iraq, which has led to absolute catastrophe. Don't they have blood on their hands?
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
Steve, any thoughts on whether all of the neocons should spend some time in prison for getting America into wars that they didn't need to?
Well, I think they should all be tried for treason and given the maximum penalty. I won't say what that is, so we don't get defunded or whatever the heck happens whenever you say certain
demonetized. Yes.
Yeah, but anyway, should receive the maximum penalty. I'm just sick and tired of these traitors and people who have betrayed the American people, walking around free, living the lifestyle that they've already led. You know, people like, you know, Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton and their daughter, and you know, all the people that we know have committed crimes against the people of the United States, and still no indictments, no arrests, no court cases, no nothing. So I'm not going to hold my breath, because I'm going to turn blue and die before anything happens.
Yeah, I'm afraid to admit that you are right. Well, in other news that might be a little more promising, it seems like some Republicans might actually grow a pair. This corrupt judge, Boasberg, who it turns out he basically helped created the legal backbone of the case to spy on senators, spy on congressmen, spy on the president-elect of the United States, set up what he knew clearly to be a completely false investigation of Donald Trump's alleged ties to Russia, which everybody knew was false. This guy Boasberg, actually what happened this week is that Representative Brandon Gill actually filed articles of impeachment against this guy and said he's clearly guilty of high crimes and misdemeanors and should be removed from office. Here's page 1 of the resolution impeaching James E. Boasberg, Chief Judge, United States District Court for the District of Columbia for high crimes and misdemeanors. Resolved that he's impeached for the high crimes and misdemeanors, and the following article of impeachment is exhibited to the United States Senate. Be exhibited to the United States Senate. Article of impeachment exhibited by the House of Representatives, blah, 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 blah. Steve, do you think this goes anywhere? And isn't it obviously long, long overdue? And it could be a landmark case, right? If they get this guy and remove him, it might put the fear of God into some more judges. What do you think?
Well, I believe that's true if they follow through with it, if they hold him accountable. But again, we see a lot of this stuff. It's just like the governor of Arizona supposedly stole millions of dollars from the taxpayer, and she was being investigated and was going to be indicted. Now she's running for re-election, for God's sake. So, again, I would love to be more optimistic about things that are happening, on a national level, but I just can't be when everything we've been told about, people stealing from the American people betraying our country, pedophiles, you name it, are being sent, are literally nothing's being done to prosecute them, to bring them to justice. And so this is just another saber rattling as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, no, I think you may be right about that. Oops, I didn't mean to share that. Blake, the thing is that, yeah, Katie Hobbs stole her election. That still hasn't been prosecuted. I mean, it's within the power of the Department of Justice to accuse her, indict her for all kinds of things, and stealing her election, and
just the theft of the money.
Yeah, and then she stole money on top of it, and nobody's touched her yet. When if ever is the Trump administration going to grow a pair and go after some of these people? We're still talking about the 2020 Georgia thing. So are they going to grow a pair? What do you think?
I'm kind of losing my faith on some of it. I mean, I like the developments with Brennan and Comey, but there's still a long way to go from that. And I just saw there was a clip from Jimmy Dore talking about, Donald Trump and how he's, maybe bought and paid for. He's going after Thomas Massey. They're, of course, siding with Lindsey Graham, or he's, criticizing, Tucker or, Rand Paul. He's siding with the military-industrial complex, Wall Street, Big Pharma, the Doge and the Elon thing falling out. I mean, it's promising to see like this young, I think he's a freshman congressman, Brendan Gill. We need more people like that to get the term limits in there. That's another thing I think Trump was supposed to work on. So we need more, fresh, ambitious talent that isn't, corrupted dinosaurs that have been sitting there forever. More Brendan Gills and MTGs. Maybe that can give me some hope, because that Boasberg guy definitely needs to, he was an obstructionist, activist judge, and he needs to face some consequences for his actions there. A little bit of a lesson for other judges that decide to, try to block the president from the procedures. So.
Yeah, and just a little bit of breaking news. According to, I think, Decision Desk HQ, they've actually, in New York, elected a fucking commie Muslim less than one generation after New York was hit by commie Muslims on 9/11. And, it's early. Decision Desk is left-leaning. It may not actually hold up, but so far it looks like it's going to. So the question I have, I guess, for you, Brooks, is it time? Are we past the point where we can use the existing so-called democratic processes to solve these problems, because the cheating is so rampant? I mean, trust me, if this race was close, I believe the Democrats would have cheated for Mamadi or whatever his name is. Are all of our institutions so corrupt that the only thing that's going to change this is military intervention at this point, or have we reached that point?
I don't know if we have or not, but for sure our election infrastructure has taken a hit. Even if Danny does win, being mayor of New York is not a one-man show. You still have to have a government to work with you. Plus, he has committed so much campaign finance fraud that is now the documentation's crystal clear on. The lawsuits are going to begin. He's going to be so hamstrung with lawsuits and dodging one subpoena after another. He's not going to be able to govern. The tragedy is New Yorkers will suffer. New Yorkers will suffer because of this battle that is about to take place.
Well, but I'm like, I don't give a shit. I was just there. Go ahead, shoot yourself in the head. I don't care, guys. They're shoot themselves in the foot. They're doing this to themselves because there are a lot of people voting for this guy. They're that insane. They're that stupid. Maybe Steve, is it just time to go with the escape from New York scenario, wall off the city, wall off the island, and just make it a maximum security prison and dump every violent criminal, child molester, pedo, politician into the city in a parachute and just let them fend for themselves? What do you think?
I would vote for that in a heartbeat. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hello?
Yeah.
Oh,
we can hear you.
I said I would vote for that in a heartbeat. And then, the other thing is they say that there's going to be a mass exodus of businesses in New York. Over 1 million people have already said they're going to leave New York City if this guy gets elected. There's already hundreds of companies that say they're going to close their doors and leave the city and go elsewhere because under his administration, there's no way they can continue to be successful.
Yeah, well, that's true. But
well, when you're talking about white tax, you're talking about, city-run grocery stores, government-run grocery stores, on and on and on and on. All the people who are currently, all the successful businesses, I should say, it's gonna destroy them. And the same thing, it's like if you're white and you live in the city of New York and you're going to be taxed more heavily than everyone else, why would you want to stay?
Yeah. Okay, so we have a bunch of Islamic communists on the ballots in various states. They appear to have won tonight. I have a scenario where I'm thinking, here's how we get out of this. And Blake and Brooks, I'll start with you, Brooks. How I think we get out of this is we decertify Islam as a religion. We call it a terrorist political ideology. And then we bulldoze every single mosque in the United States and deport every single immigrant that, even if they were given citizenship by military transport that came here since 9/11, deport every single one of them back to the country they came from. Just say, oh, you came here in 2011, got your citizenship in 2015. Too bad, you're going back to Somalia. That's how we solve the problem. Do you think that there is any fight in the belly of anyone in the United States to do something that dramatic to solve this problem?
No, I don't think there's any way that they're going to make this openly a battle between Islam and Christianity. Although that is exactly what it is. This white tax, it sounds racist, and it is, but it's also Sharia law. It is in Sharia law that non-believers are taxed at a different rate than believers are.
Yeah. And so the white tax is overtly racist. It's overtly unconstitutional. But Blake, so are hate crimes. And the Supreme Court ruled that hate crimes are okay. Literally, the Supreme Court ruled 20 years ago that you can prosecute someone for what somebody else believes you were thinking about the other person when you committed a crime. That's fucking insanity. It's blatant. Hate crimes have always been unconstitutional, and yet we had a Supreme Court that allowed them to stand. Do you have any hope that we're going to take any action legislatively that's going to change things and fix this country?
I'm not sure. Maybe on certain local levels. So this will be an interesting experiment in New York, because it looks like he's probably going to win. But I mean, they just didn't really have a lot of options there. It was either that or they got to take Cuomo back. And this is a city that's already suffered under Bill de Blasio. I don't know which is worse. So this, New York, I don't even know how many of these, like the native New Yorkers versus the immigrant population. I don't know what's going on there, but yeah, people might need to bail out of there. But maybe they're just going to have to see how bad it gets before they finally wake up, and that'll be a lesson for all of us. Because some of these things don't work, and there is a place like Dearborn, Michigan, where they have these this problem with the culture shock. So perhaps we'll see what the policies that this Mondani puts down, and I'm sure we're going to hear a lot about it, because assuming he wins. So we'll just have to see how it goes and take it one day at a time and call it out. And we'll see how the people of New York react. If they want to stay put or if they want to get out. You're right. They should probably just wall and escape from New York. They just walled off Manhattan, and they left the rest of the boroughs alone. So maybe that would be okay. It's a shame they'd have to lose Central Park, but the rest of it can probably go.
Yeah, I can live without Central Park. Let's just wall off Manhattan. I keep coming back to this, Steve. I know you don't support this, but I mean, there's an old Q post that says military is the only way to fix all this corruption. I'm starting to feel like that's true, but you still don't think that's a good idea, right?
Negative. It's for me, the people need to rise up. The American citizens are empowered with rising up against a corrupt government. I don't like seeing that. I mean, the military is to protect our borders, right? That's the only thing that they're there for. When you start allowing the military to interfere with civilian matters, that's when you get dictators. That's when the head of the militaries take over and start running the country, and I don't want to see it. And it's against the Constitution. I'm a constitutionalist. I don't want to see it. But do I want to see the people rise up and go against the corrupt and evil government? Absolutely. And they have every right to do it under the Constitution. That's what it's there for. That's why we have the Second Amendment, to defend ourselves from all of these people who would destroy our nation.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I don't have a lot of hope. Okay. I want to end with one thing that's more in Brooks's line of sight here. There's this.
By the way, one last thing: if this guy wins, everybody tell him pound bacon to his office.
Broke up, Steve. Say that again.
Say it again.
I said if this guy does win and it's confirmed that he's the winner, I said everybody in the nation needs to send a pound of bacon to his office in New York.
Yeah, I concur with that. Sounds like a good idea to me. Okay, I want to end with something I've actually been reporting on Coast to Coast AM as the science reporter, which is this 3-eye atlas object. This, I'm not going to call it a comet because I don't think it's a comet. It has this bizarre trajectory where it comes in on the plane of the ecliptic, which is basically the plane where all the planets are. Now, I'm arguing that this brilliant guy, the late Dr. Tom Van Flandern, basically said planets do not form out there. They're spewed off as plasma by the sun during the formative period, and then they spiral out and cool down and become whatever planet they're going to become. And he also said planets can explode. Now, I happen to think this might be a chunk of an exploded planet. It's nickel. That's most cores of planets are nickel, and that makes it a long period comet, meaning it flew out from this explosion where Mars was orbiting it as a moon, and it went all the way around and came back, and now it's returning just at this particular time, passing right next to Mars, which it did. But here's the interesting thing about it. It is going to have its closest approach to Earth in another few days in December, about a month from now. And people are saying that this is a view of it.
Las primeras imágenes del
Japanese
objeto 3 y Atlas fueron captadas por una sonda china. El objeto se encuentra cerca del Sol en esta fecha, 29 de octubre de 2025, y seguía tranquilamente su trayectoria prevista. El problema es que en las últimas horas los sensores han confirmado algo que no debería estar sucediendo. El 3 y Atlas está cambiando su ruta lentamente y
But
rodea el Sol.
everybody was saying, okay, well, what we have to worry about is that this thing, when it gets its closest approach to the sun, which was October 29th, it's going to turn and accelerate and come to Earth, and aliens are going to invade, right? That was what everybody's concerned about, which always seemed far-fetched. But here's the thing, Brooks. It did accelerate. It did change course by very minute fractions of miles, a few hundred miles, few hundred miles per hour, a few hundred miles in direction. But the thing is 33 billion metric tons of nickel, basically. 33 billion. To give you an example, Oumuamua was 100,000 metric tons. So 33 billion versus 100,000. In order to deflect this thing off of that course by even the minute amounts that have been measured, you have to have the thrust of, get this, 9 Elon Musk starships. That's 33 engines per 9 or 10. So you're talking 330 engines, Raptor engines, to move something that big off its course. And there is no natural explanation that would tell you why it would move off course. You can have venting of comets. There's volatiles. they create sort of a thrust effect, but at that volume, at that mass, it would basically obliterate the thing to vent off that much steam or ice or gas or whatever. So saying all that, Brooks, what the fuck is this thing? And we should start figuring it out because it comes closest to Earth, I think, about November 5th or 6th. So a little more than a month away, it's its closest approach to Earth. Now, that's 170 million miles, but what do you think this thing is? I think it's a chunk of an exploded planet. What the hell do you think it is?
Yeah, I think it probably is a chunk of an exploded planet. It's not behaving like a comet. It is off-gassing, but that's because it's probably got frozen ice and stuff on the surface of it. But it's so big, and it's going so fast. It's going like 3.5 times the speed of any other heavenly body that's come through our solar system. That means that it has, according to the second law of thermodynamics, a lot of inertia. In other words, it's very hard to move out of its way. It wants to keep going in the same direction that it's going. And there's just no force that has been applied to it to move it. So where is it getting the energy to change course?
This is the problem. This is the question. And they call it non-gravitational acceleration, meaning it's not being pulled on by planets unless there's other really big planets out there we don't know about.
That's right.
Oh, by the way, breaking news. Actually, breaking news. There, I do now have. There's apparently been an update from NASA. Here's the other thing that's really bizarre.
Mm-hmm.
NASA took a picture of it with the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter HiRISE camera on October 3rd. That is a month and a day ago now. They have not released the picture. They have claimed the reason they're not releasing the picture is because of the government shutdown and employees are not working. However, the HiRISE camera is not under the direct control of NASA. It's under the direct control of the University of Arizona, which is not shut down, which does have money, and which is privately funded for the most part, even though they've got a contract for this. So they are lying about why they haven't shown us the picture, and they haven't shown the picture or released any of the data on it. But I'm going to tell you right now, Brooks, the picture was just leaked to me, and here it is.
That's pretty good. I like it.
So for those of you who don't know, that is the planet killer from the Doomsday Machine episode of the
I can hear the music right now.
Yeah, it's kind of, yeah. So I'm just kidding. Okay, so let's try to finish this off on a political question that everybody can answer. Look, whatever this thing is, here's what I said last night on Coast to Coast. Whatever this thing is, apparently it is earth-shattering enough, scary enough, that NASA doesn't want to tell people what it is. Even if it's not an alien spacecraft, even if it's a chunk of an exploded planet, then guess what? That implies all kinds of things about, wait a minute, we live on a planet. You mean planets can explode? So in other words, it's a problem. So do you feel like, Steve, there is a cover-up of this thing going on, and do you think it's appropriate, or should they just tell us what the hell this thing is?
Okay, I'm sorry, Mike. Say it one more time.
Do you think NASA knows more about this thing than they're telling us? And if so, shouldn't they just be telling us?
Yeah, I mean, there's no reason for them not to be. It's a, interplanetary event. I mean, it's not like the American people don't need to know or the people of the world don't need to know. And they also have the Vatican telescope down near Tucson, and I'm sure they have tons of pictures of the thing. In fact, I think their telescope is far better than the one at the University of Arizona.
Yeah. Well, the one for the control by the University of Arizona is the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter, which is a spectacularly good camera in Mars orbit. So it took a picture of it when it went by, but they've still not released that picture. Why haven't you released it? Blake, does this stink a little bit to you of a cover-up?
I hope it does, and I hope there's this world either needs benevolent aliens or Jesus to come and save us from ourselves. So I think that could be the best thing to happen to us. So they want to cover all this stuff up. They don't tell us anything. Deep state, hides everything. And, the Vatican, who knows what they've got in the library? Who knows what was in the Library of Alexandria? There's so much going on in this earth and our history that we don't know about. And we're not going to get it from the official sources. So, I don't know. Hopefully there's a visitation because we need something to bring the planet together.
Yeah, here's the thing. It may not be an alien spacecraft, but whatever it is, either NASA doesn't know what it is because they haven't listened to me, and I could have told them it's a long period comment from the exploded planet Maldak that Mars used to orbit. I could just tell them either they don't know what it is and they're afraid to be embarrassed because they don't know, or they do know what it is, and whatever it is so scary that they're not willing to tell people. So that's where we're at. But the whole theme of this whole night, once again, is corruption. Government corruption. Government knows more, and they don't do the right thing. How do we rescue our country first and our planet second? How do we do that?
There's a big difference between airbrushing a little space picture and lying to the American people that 45 million Americans are on food stamps. That's just a fucking lie. Only about 18 million Americans are on food stamps. The rest are all illegals. Mm-hmm. That's why this system is broke.
So, everything we discussed tonight is lies and cover-ups by official sources, by governments. So,
except for Sydney, except for Miss Sweeney.
Except for Sydney Sweeney's milkers. Yeah, except for her milkers.
Well, she's absolutely real.
And they weren't covered up. They were clearly not covered up.
Leaving her boobs.
No.
So, I think the way we have to end the show tonight.
The government.
Go ahead.
They look at the American people as imbeciles. That that they're going to do what's best for us. We don't need to know anything. We need to be kept in the dark. And they're going to tell us what to do and how to do it and when to do it. And again, people have the wrong idea. They think that we work for the politicians and, we don't. The politicians work for us. You're the boss, not the politicians. And you need to be outraged and you need to come against these jackasses and do everything you can to get rid of them.
Yeah. Yeah, and when you hear people like Rand Paul who come out and say, and this affects me particularly, we want to raise the retirement age to 70. Otherwise, the Social Security system is going to be insolvent. No, you don't. You just need to stop stealing from it.
Exactly. It's plenty solvent. Yeah, and again, what does that say to you about Rand Paul? That's just ridiculous.
And quit putting illegal aliens on Social Security disability.
Thank you. There you go. Well, the Democrats have done that to import illegal aliens to vote for them. Otherwise, they would never win elections if only Americans were allowed to vote in elections.
That's what Chuck
I used to date a Russian girl.
Oh.
And she came over legally. And she brought her parents over. And one of the reasons we broke up, I was really upset when her parents came and immediately went on Social Security. They'd only lived here like a matter of months and they got Social Security disability. And I'm like, what kind of bullshit is that? I said, people can get Social Security disability who are actually disabled.
Exactly.
And these people, you bring them into the country,
and they get it
automatically go on it. I mean, shouldn't there be some law that if you're going to? But I mean, shouldn't there be some law that if you come into this country, that you are not, you're not able to draw any type of a benefit for 20, 25 years until you paid into the system?
Yep. Yeah, but
I don't care if you come in and you're 80.
The whole system is a scam.
You come into your, yeah. But like I said, if you're 80 years old and you come in this country, you still got to wait 25 years. Sorry.
I agree with that.
But the number of able-bodied people that are on Social Security disability, and I'll mention one other thing. When I was in Arizona, I was at this barber shop getting my hair cut, and this guy was clearly Arabic. And he was bragging about the fact that he got Social Security disability and made money, made cash being a barber. He only accepted cash. And that, that how much he loved America and how easy it was to manipulate the system. And so my thing is I'm like, you dirty piece of crap. I'm like, that money was earned and put into that fund by the American citizens. And I called and turned them in. I don't know if anything ever happened, but I turned them in for fraud.
Well,
but I mean, they look at us. They look at us like we're morons, like we're complete and total idiots, because they feel that we're letting them get away with all that stuff.
Well, of course we are, because we're so busy trying to survive. That's why.
And then what they do is they take the SNAP cards that they get and they sell them for cash.
Yeah.
And then they take the cash and send it home to their families in another country.
Yep. Or they use it for their businesses. I don't know how many I've seen, including Hispanics, who go out and they have like a little store or something, and they use their SNAP benefits to buy milk and other stuff for their, to resell.
Right. They have a little market.
Or they sell, burritos or whatever they're doing. And, they use their SNAP benefits to buy the stuff and then resell it for cash and make a profit.
Yep. All right, guys, that is going to wrap it up for tonight. Kind of a depressing episode, actually, I have to say, without a lot of optimism. Blake is going to have the best night of all of us, because he's going to go back in the back room where the strip club is, and he's going to hang out with the ladies and have a few scotches and have a great night. The rest of us are going to have to suffer without those privileges of the owner of the finest strip club, Gentlemen's Club, in Nashville, Tennessee, the Lickety Split. Look forward to that. Blake, you have a great night doing that. I'll be back tomorrow without Jen. It'll be just me on Tell the Truth Wednesday, and then I'll be on with the original Mark Z on Whiskey and Wisdom about 8 Eastern tomorrow night. So tune in for those shows. Strictly Football on Thursday. Blake, Brooks, what do you got?
Panthers.
Brooks, what do you got coming up?
Ooh.
Yeah,
Panthers are doing well.
They are. What do you got coming up?
Well, it won't be too much longer. We're going to do a show from the new house.
Nice.
So we'll see.
The new studio that
make it happen.
Brooks is going to have set up. All right. Good luck with that. Steve, you drive safely. Blake, have a great night. Brooks, thanks for being here as always and adding your expertise. We love you guys. I don't know if we're fixing the country fast enough. I really don't. I don't know if we can. Thanks for being here. Appreciate each and every single one of you guys. And have a good one.